Hi there, I'm Travis from Soul Remedy, and today I wanted to talk about the differences doing ceremony indoors versus outdoors and why I personally prefer outdoors. So I'd like to say right off the bat, I don't actually think one way is better than the other. They're just a little bit different. And for the most part, you can do the same exact work, in my experience, indoors or outdoors. I have a personal preference towards outdoors just because I love being outside anyways, and we'll go over some of the differences between the two and kind of their specialties. So a lot of people are pretty familiar with the idea of doing ceremony indoors. If you hear about ayahuasca ceremonies, they're usually in a maloca or something like that. If you're outside of the Amazon, often it's just in somebody's house or something. And there's a lot of good benefits of doing ceremony indoors. It's popular online for people to read about, like, if you want to work with psilocybin mushrooms, do 4 or 5 grams in silent darkness indoors, and that can be a valid way to work with mushrooms. Yeah, the benefits to working inside, basically, you have a very controlled environment, a very private environment, and it's safe. You can often make sure that it's really comfortable. And if you do it in the right room and especially in the darkness, there's often a lot less distractions inside. It's really easy to have a very focused experience looking inward deeply into yourself with as little distractions as possible. And that's really awesome. For me personally, compared to outdoors, when I do ceremonies indoors, it's often easier to have a lot of my instruments with me. And I can play a lot more music. And music's really powerful in ceremony. So sometimes if I'm going outside, maybe we're walking too much, so I don't want to carry a bunch of instruments with me, or maybe it's cold and wet and I don't want to have like my nice guitar in the rain for hours. Uh, yeah, so there's definitely some benefits to being indoors, but outdoors is pretty amazing. So one of the things that's different about outdoors is I feel like when you're outdoors, especially in nature, you can really connect with the world around you in this positive way. And I feel like in our society, we get so closed off from nature, so closed off from each other. And, we're often like, you live in your house, it's this box. You get into your car, it's a box. You go to the store, it's a box. You go to work, it's in a box. People kind of just like, they always have this box around them. They're always separated, kind of. And I think there's something really powerful about feeling this deep connection to nature through the plant medicines when you're outside. And I also think there's something really amazing about even being able to connect with other people during ceremony. Like, you don't want to distract yourselves with like a lot of random conversation during the peak of the ceremony. But, there could be something really beautiful if you're in like a beautiful garden or out in the forest and you're sharing a ceremony with a few people and maybe you're still focused on yourself. You're not like talking and distracting each other, but you look over and you just see this person and maybe you make eye contact for a second and you have this meaningful experience of like, wow, I really see that person. We're sharing this really beautiful, powerful experience together and we're going through this together. And there's something awesome about that. I also think when you're outside in the forest and you could just hear like birds chirping and the wind in the leaves, and the forest makes this beautiful music all on its own. And you can kind of see a little bit deeper with the plant medicine, see all the trees breathing, see the earth breathing, and kind of see the energy that connects us all. And there's something very deeply powerful about that. And it just helps you kind of have this deep connection to beauty in the world around you and appreciation with nature, especially for people who don't spend a lot of time in nature on their own normally. This can be an especially powerful experience. Um, and then outdoors too, I actually feel like if you're in nature, wherever you're at becomes part of the ceremony. The mountain you're on, the forest you're in, the river you're by, the ocean you're by, they all have their own medicine too. There's spiritual traditions that work with the spirits of the rivers and the ocean and the mountains and the trees. And that's what I like to work with in ceremony, actually. So it's awesome being able to be right next to these things. It's really easy to connect with the medicine. I've had super powerful experience. Like I need to clear some dark, heavy energy that's holding me back, and I'm in the forest, and I just sit against this like beautiful cedar tree, and all of a sudden the cedar tree is really helping me in my ceremony, and I'm having this deep connection with the cedar tree as it helps me work on myself. And so all of a sudden I'm not alone in this dark room, but I'm feeling all the support of the world and the nature around me. And there's something really empowering about not feeling so alone like that, and knowing that you are connected and you have allies all around you that you can call on anytime. um, so a lot of times in nature, you still do the ceremony similar. You can like sit in one spot and have some songs and stuff like that. There's also another way to do ceremony in nature, which is actually my favorite way to do ceremony just for myself. I don't think it's the best way for everybody, but for me, it's really cheap and powerful, and that's to do a hiking ceremony. So I'll pick a trail where I don't think there's going to be many people, where I can take lots of breaks off the trail and have privacy if I need to, if stuff gets really intense and I feel like I need to sit down and focus and work through something, I can do that. But there's something about hiking and moving that actually helps me a lot in ceremony. It actually helps my mind go deeper because, if you're the type of person that likes to walk and think and walk and process stuff normally, like when I'm not doing ceremony, if I have some emotions to work through, I just go for a walk outside and think about stuff. And by the time I get back to my house and I'm done walking, I've worked through stuff. It's super helpful for me to have that movement to like work things out energetically through your body. And I even feel like as I'm moving through the forest, I'm just leaving what I don't need to carry with me energetically. Like just leaving that into the earth, or the trees are just kind of sweeping that away. And maybe you've heard of something called the hero's journey, something that can happen in ceremonies, this way of confronting yourself, having challenges, failing, but then growing, knowing yourself more deeply, confronting the same challenge again and overcoming it. And it's called the hero's journey. If you haven't heard about it before, look up Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. It's pretty insightful idea to think about. But there's something awesome when you go on a hike, that you're going on this adventure. And the adventure is a way to confront yourself and know yourself more deeply and face your fear. And that's what a ceremony is in general. Is it's always an adventure. It's always a way to confront yourself, know yourself more deeply, and face your fear. Find these parts of yourself you neglected that you need to learn how to love again. And you can do that sitting down, but for me, it's really immersive when I'm like moving through the forest and the scenery's changing, and every new spot I come to is like a new chapter in this book that I'm traveling through in my ceremony. And for me, I feel like that's when my personal medicine comes out the most and my personal magic comes out the most, is when I'm exploring and being adventurous and challenging myself, and maybe even having like a little fun and playfulness in the ceremony, in this way of like, I love the forest and I'm connecting with it and connecting with these trees in a playful way that kind of helps me connect to my inner child, and helps me let go of some of that like seriousness and analyticalness that can kind of, become a trap when it gets too out of control sometimes. So yeah, for me, that's my favorite way to do ceremony. It's something really beautiful and magical about it. I will say, definitely for some people, doing a hiking ceremony is distracting. It depends on the type of person you are and how the plant medicines affect you. For some people, when they take plant medicine like San Pedro or mushrooms, it's hard to walk, they feel disoriented, they need to sit down and focus. I think that's totally fine. If that's the type of person you are, and that's the way the medicine affects you, you should go with that, and trust, what's happening, and sit somewhere and focus. You could still do that outdoors or indoors. Either way, both work great. Um, like I said before, I don't really think indoors is better than outdoors or outdoors is better than indoors. I've done a lot of both. I like both for different reasons. I have a personal preference for outdoors, but that's just a personal thing.